Back.
We're back.
Oh, like 5 people missed us.
Whoa.
I don't know if you've seen on Peacock, there is a TED television series, and it is equally as stupidly fantastic as the movies are.
Ted, like the teddy bear?
Yep, like
No
like Seth
shit.
MacFarlane. Like Seth
No
MacFarlane,
shit.
yeah, it goes through like him and John like growing up in the early 90s, so... Yeah, for like us millennial kids, a little nostalgic. A little before my time, but I still get the nostalgia vibes.
That's pretty awesome.
Yep,
Seth
so-
MacFarlane's a voice.
Yeah. So
Okay,
it's
good.
Ted. Obviously, Mark Wahlberg is not back as John. They have a different kid acting who does a very good job as John. But yeah, that's what we're going to start the show off is endorsing the new Ted series that I am not paid for to endorse at all. So if you guys want to like get in my DMs, Peacock, let me know. We'll make some money for endorsing stuff because that's what people do online anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're going to get the stream going here. If you are tuning in right now, hang tight. It'll be just a second here as we get some viewers going here. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, there we go. The sound of my own voice reverbing back into the microphone like Inception.
Gotta love it.
Sharing on the social media. Oh, did you get in?
Yeah. Oh, well, no. I mean, I found another website. I got what I need out of it.
Yep. Which
So
is the
we're
big
all
board.
right. Yep. We're all right. Well, I was looking at offensive line rankings, too, because that's important. I'm trying to figure out where
Yeah,
some of these linemen
so-
are gonna go.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking about a lot of different things here today. We're gonna be talking a little bit of mock draft here after breaking down some of the playoff matchups. But yeah, I guess we could probably start off talking about the playoff matchups that happened yesterday. In the game that would be a shootout is what we are gonna start with. Browns absolutely shit the bed. That was
wild.
disappointing.
You know, and it's strange because the Browns scored first, and they looked like they had the momentum on their side. They had the veteran presence. They had the better defense going in.
They had Joe Flacco playing like 2012 Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, forget about Denver, forget about the Jets. Like, yeah, he was back.
Yep.
Baby.
But I think more than anything, it's just a testament to C.J. Stroud and what an unbelievable talent that kid is. I mean, I'm not trying to over-exaggerate and jump I'm not trying to jump from 0 to 100 real quick, but his performance and just what he's done this year is ringing eerily similar to what Mahomes did his rookie year.
Second year. I will actually. There is
Mahomes
one
sat
thing he
behind
has over
Alex Smith.
Mahomes.
Yep, Mahomes sat his rookie year behind Alex Smith, but yeah, I mean, you just don't. It's very rare, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, because even Joe Burrow, they didn't go to the playoffs their first year with him, did they?
No. Joe Burrow ended up their first year. I think they ended up finishing like 5-11 or something because Joe tore his ACL like week 11 or 12.
That's right.
So yeah, as far as a rookie quarterback performance, as far as someone who has done what C.J. Stroud has done, I really don't think there is. So far, and that is not to put him on too high of a pedestal here. Obviously, he's just a rookie, but still, at the end of the day, I mean, the only person I can think of who came in and played this well as a rookie is Andrew Luck. That's
true.
the last person I can think of. Led the Colts to the playoffs,
Yep.
just like C.J. Stroud did.
Yep.
10-6 with Luck, I believe, was their record. 10-7 with Stroud having that extra game. But I think this was... The Colts were a bad off team, but I don't think anybody expected the Texans to turn this around and then to absolutely just mollywop, to use the proper English slang for it, just to mollywop the Browns. You thought it was close at first, it was looking like, what was it, 24-14 at half, 10-point game, and then, Houston's defense is going to be the key there because they can pass the ball. They got some guys who can move. They're not the best running the ball, but Devin Singletary can kind of pop at times, as we saw.
Yeah, he can. He can get it done.
But they're going to be a problem. They're going to be somebody's problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see who they face because they're the 4 seed.
They are.
So most likely they'll end up with KC.
Yes.
Yeah. No, because I guess how does that work out here today? Let's pull it up. I'm a visual learner.
If the Bills win.
Okay, so when the Bills win.
Yeah, when the Bills win, they will play Kansas City, and Houston will play Baltimore.
That's fair. Yep.
Because we'll have all top 4 seeds in the playoffs or in the divisional round.
For the AFC, I mean, I predicted the Browns, and I kind of wanted to see the Browns win a little bit more, but the Texans deserved it, and I think they'll be a problem.
Yeah.
For whoever they play next round. The biggest one I have an issue with is the Chiefs. I think while they played great yesterday, they got bailed out by the weather. I mean, there's no way around it. Miami, we knew wasn't going to perform well.
Yeah.
It's not act like it was anything nobody expected.
Yeah, and Mahomes he's a cold weather quarterback. They live in Kansas City. That's not a warm place. I mean, but that's not to take anything away from the Chiefs. That is the definition of a home field advantage. That is the advantage they had.
Yep.
And it sucks. I think America is mourning, but you know what? Hopefully the Chiefs get bounced next week. I hate the Chiefs.
Yeah, I know you're definitely not on that train, but I don't know. It'll still be interesting because last night is actually probably the most under control for the times I watched the game, was able to watch the game. I was doing a little bit of running around, but from what I saw, as far as being in control, working the offense, short, medium, even a little bit deep, I think this is the best Kansas City has looked in a while. Okay. Now, obviously, we're going to take away the weather in that, but they're more prepared for that, but they still looked better, I think, than they have. It was a rough end of the season. It was a rough, stretch at the end of the year. They played the Raiders, kind of got balanced. They lost to the Broncos this year on top of that. So I think, like the Eagles, they were kind of limping in. And if you are a KC fan, it's got to feel good to at least see them, get shit back together. Pacheco's running the ball. Mahomes looked good. The receivers were catching it despite it was freezing. So I don't know. There's some hope there if you're a KC fan. I don't like saying it as a Raiders fan, but there is hope out there if you're a KC fan. But yeah, we covered the first 2 games. I guess we'll move on to the first game of today, at least, and we're going to talk Packers-Cowboys. And I'll let you kick it off because your pick of the playoffs.
Why don't you kick it off first, because I'm trying to fix my iPad, so give me just a second.
We are having some technical issues, but let's kick it off. Does Dallas stand a chance of getting upset in this game? Yes, because we're talking actual mathematical probability, and that is something that can happen. But I don't think it's likely they lose, because we're talking Dallas at home. They're undefeated this year at home. Their offense has been, I believe I saw a graphic, first or second best in the NFL as far as at home. They have the best ranked offense in the NFL. Dak goes off inside that dome. This is another way of home field advantage, as Jay's talked about, but in a flipped sense. You know what I mean? It's home field advantage in the fact that your offense and your team is going to be better suited to be in an environment where everybody's full go. The cold, I think, actually would hurt Dallas in these kind of situations. If Dallas had to go on the road, say the Eagles didn't stumble at the end, and Dallas is a wild card team, and they're visiting somewhere right now that they have to go outdoors and they have to try to win a football game. I don't think anybody's nearly as confident. Like, let's flip this around for a second. Green Bay fucks around, and somehow this is a 4-5 matchup, and Green Bay won the NFC North in a crazy universe that doesn't exist. But let's just flip spots for a second here. I think you would actually question how Dallas is going to do in this game. The Packers, they can kind of come out of nowhere. No one really thinks on paper that they can match the Cowboys' talent, but that's the thing is there's just a bit of unknown to the Packers that you can't cut out. It's truly like they put in boxing. It's a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
They could either go down 21-0 first quarter, this game's over. We're turning it off, going 10 minutes in the second quarter. Or it's a fucking shootout, and the Packers have a chance to take advantage if the Cowboys make some mistakes, throw some, heavy hooks in there and possibly score a knockout.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's just going to boil down to the Cowboys' defense against Jordan Love, really, because Love has looked – this second half of the season, he looks like he's the guy up there. He's playing very well. What did he finish as far as a rating goes? He finished as the 5th highest rated quarterback on this season for QBR. So I mean, the kid's been playing really well, but he does face a very tough defense. Dan Quinn has turned that Dallas D into an absolute unit. Deron Bland's the best corner in the league right now from a statistical standpoint, and so I think it's just going to come down to how does Love do against that defense? Because I think when you look at it, the opposite side, I don't think Dallas is going to have a ton of trouble moving the ball, at least getting into field goal range. Their offense is that dynamic, but it's just can Green Bay keep up with Dallas? And I think that's what it's going to boil down to.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I said, if Dallas can lose themselves this game,
They can. They do every year.
100%. You know what I mean? But that's going to be the narrative. That's going to be the narrative if if the Packers win, is Dallas lost the game for themselves. So you're talking a couple of Dak Prescott interceptions. The pressure's getting back there, and they have the Packers have a team that they should be happy right now because here's the thing: if you lose this weekend, you're the youngest roster in the NFL. How much of that roster is locked down to come back? At a great cap number, too.
Yep.
You know, if you need more edge rushers, you know, because I think they still have Preston Smith there, who's still on a big money deal. If they got to get him out of there and you want to go younger at edge rusher, you can. Like, you have invested in Rashawn Gary. You have invested in Lucas Van Ness. You have invested in that defense. And now that offense is starting to do something, I think you're going into this offseason, like, I mean, sky's the limit.
Yeah, they're feeling pretty good up there. And, I mean, that's talk about the next big, you know, how for a decade now we've had the AFC North as that was the division. You know, you had the Bengals and the Ravens and the Steelers, and that was like the toughest division in football for a long time to play in. And now I think that might be shifting to the NFC North. I mean, the Lions are looking incredible. We'll talk about them in a few minutes. The Vikings you can never count them out. They're always in the running. And then the Packers.
Well, injuries are the Vikings issue this year. I mean, there's no way around that. Well, you can talk about that, but.
Yeah. But, no, I think the NFC North is about to be the next big, tough division.
Yeah, there's not really looking to be – and obviously this can all change. You know, I mean, Bears could retain Justin Fields or draft a rookie, and he could go to shit, and all of a sudden the Bears are in the basement, yada, yada. But, like, you know, like you said, across the board, all four teams are looking bare minimum spunky. And if you're the Lions, you're possibly – looking like a contender. They'd be someone in a game versus San Francisco I'd give a puncher's chance to.
Yeah.
You know, we'll break down the NFC, how the Niners are the favorite, but I don't know. This game's going to be a fun one to watch. Like I said, I just hope it's not out of hand early, which I can see Dallas trying to do. You know, put the foot on the throat, push it down, end the game by halftime. If not, though, and the Packers stick around, that's when it's going to get real interesting.
That I 100% agree.
Yep. But let's move to the Sunday night game in what is the best scripted NFL playoff game so far. This had to work out this way, and it did. It is the Rams returning with Matthew Stafford to Detroit in the first time since he's been traded.
Yeah.
It's the first time these two teams have played, I believe.
Yep.
It's the first time he's playing back in Detroit as well. It's going to be an interesting game.
First
Rams
playoff game in 12 years
God, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. 2012, 2011? Did the Lions go to the
Yeah, I want to
playoffs?
say like 2011 they made the playoffs and got bounced round one.
Yep, by the Packers.
Yep.
It
So
was the year the Packers won the Super Bowl.
Yep. Yeah, and it's just first of all, let's talk about the Rams though, turning it back around. I mean, they didn't have their first round pick due to the Matt Stafford trade. They gave a top 10 pick to the Lions, and now here these teams are. The Rams kind of spunked their way in. Just using that word because there's a lot of like gritty teams, you know, teams that you kind of want to root for, but on paper you're like they're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean that's like the Steelers right now, like they're gritty and I think the Steelers are the AFC mirror to the Rams right now because I think what you have is two bandaged rosters that are being led into the playoffs by two incredible head coaches.
Agree.
I think their situations mirror themselves.
The only real difference is obviously the Rams have a quarterback. Now Mason Rudolph, maybe Myles Garrett knocked him silly, and now all of a sudden he's a spot starter. But I think like Joe Flacco yesterday, if Joe Flacco had his come to Jesus moment, I think that's where Mason Rudolph has his, and we'll cover that. But this is going to be a good duel. I think also there's a little bit of this is Jared Goff's first game back against the Rams too. The organization who he took, he took to a Super Bowl. First overall pick, took him to a Super Bowl, lost that Super Bowl, not. I can't even think right now. The first overall pick for that team, and then they trade him away. Not even just that, but they trade him on top of a couple of first-round picks. And it's like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I think Jared Goff goes out today in balls. I mean, with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Is there word on Sam Laporta?
Last time I heard he was playing, but I didn't.
Questionable as of right now. Khalif Raymond is out. Ooh, Tyler Higbee is also on the questionable report, but I think, yeah, from what I've heard, Sam Laporte is going to play.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. What's your prediction on this game? Because they got Detroit by 3 in the books, over under of 52.5.
I think this game is going to clear the over. I do, and I think that it's going to be a lot closer than people are probably expecting. I could see this being a 27-24, a 31-34. One of these two teams is going to win by a field goal.
I agree. I think it could come down to the end
tonight. Yeah,
yeah.
It's going to be a tight game, but I do think the Lions are going to pull it off. I just think that you look at these two teams and the momentum that they have going into the playoffs, and the Lions have a different aura about them. I don't know how else to describe that, but they are just clicking on all cylinders, and they're all united together. I mean, this is talk about a collective team unit all playing for each other. The Lions they're just killing it right now, and they're the Cinderella story. And if the script holds true, then the Lions have to win.
Well, and I think we saw this on Hard Knocks a couple of years ago with Dan Campbell. He is that type of coach. He's going to bring in the guys who want to fight for the team, want to play for each other, and they're going to get it done. Whether it's by the defense showing out, they have a great pass rush, and I think that's the one thing is if Aiden Hutchinson, those guys can get back to Matt Stafford, not let him sit back there and pick apart what's a very young and inexperienced secondary in Detroit. And you let your offense cook. You let them run the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, use the play action to go to Amon-Ra and Laporta. Do what got you here, and I think they'll be just fine. But if this turns into, heavyweight shot back and forth, Matt Stafford's having all day to, locate Puka and Cooper. Kyrian Williams is going to have, big holes in the middle. It's like if they're getting guys over pursuing, like this is really going to come down, I think, to how Detroit's defensive line plays. That is my kind of X factor of the game, actually, that no one's going to talk about, is the defense line of Detroit has to create pressure to win this game.
I agree. And I think coaching is important, too, because I think that this is a situation where Sean McVay could out-coach Dan Campbell.
I agree.
I love Dan Campbell, but Sean McVay he's cut from a little bit of a different cloth.
This kind of feels like Hercules versus like one of the great beasts. Like Dan Campbell, not saying he's stupid, but he almost gets where he is, like, lives and dies by the sword.
Yeah.
He's going to be aggressive regardless. We saw that against
kneecap.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's going to bite the kneecap to where McVay is cunning. Like they're two great coaching styles, but they're definitely they have their opposites on there, and it's going to be a fun matchup.
It is. It's going to be great.
Moving to the Snow Bowl, we got the Steelers and the Bills. Bills by 10. I guess the only real question is do you think the weather gives the Steelers a better chance to win this game in Buffalo?
I think it helps, because I think that you have honestly, talk about two similar players in the NFL, James Cook and Jalen Warren. You have two running backs who fit a very similar style. I think this game's tough because you don't want to just shit on the Steelers because they find ways to win even against good teams. So I don't want to go in here and be like, why are we even playing this game? Just give it to the Bills. There's always that chance, but I think the weather will help the Steelers keep it closer, but I don't think it's going to help them win the game.
Agreed, because I think you're going into this, 10-point spread for the Bills, over under 38.5. The biggest thing that almost would have helped Pittsburgh, been like, okay, they might be dogs of the week here, is if TJ Watt was playing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though, is they've been able to win all year, but I think I counted at least 3 or 4 wins that were literally on the backs of TJ Watt. We're talking, like, other teams driving down the field, TJ Watt single-handedly strip sacks, recovers the fucking fumble, game's over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, literally wins them the game. And so it's like, okay, where are you going to get that from? Because I love Alex Highsmith, but he's not TJ Watt. Yep. No one is, really, frankly. I mean, that man's on a different level. And I say that respectively having Max Crosby on my team. Like, TJ there's a Von Miller-esque clutch motor. You know what I mean? And, like, Max did it a couple of times this year, but when you have those elite edge rushers, I feel like that's what separates them, is you see these guys making plays in the fourth quarter, and TJ does it. I haven't seen anybody carry a team like that in a single season like Von Miller did in 2015 with the Broncos is what I would compare what TJ did this year.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not having
absolutely.
him, I would love to see it be close, but I think I would take the Bills, and I'd even tease that up to like 17 points. I think they run
Yeah.
away with it early.
Yeah.
Josh is from, he played at Wyoming, played in Northern California.
cold weather kid.
He knows how to play. He knows how to ball here. Worst comes to worst, he rushes for 50, 60 yards, and they win.
Few NFL teams are in a colder area than Buffalo.
Yeah, and I think Stephon Diggs is, obviously played in the Dome in Minnesota, but, he knows how to play in the cold too. So I think Buffalo by 1 million, and we just move on with our lives to some better matchups, like the all of a sudden interesting A.J. Brownless Eagles versus Baker Mayfield and the upstart Buccaneers. Do we all just want Baker to win this game?
I think so. This isn't just me fanboying because I'm not a fan of the Eagles. I legitimately think that the Buccaneers are going to win this game. If you look at the Eagles, they have been imploding over the last 5-6 weeks now. Every week it's getting worse. There's turmoil from within them, and there's their head coach that just brought them to the Super Bowl 11 months ago is on the hot seat right now, which is a huge red flag.
Crazy.
Huge red flag. If you bring a team to the Super Bowl and by the end of next season they're talking about firing you, there is something
The fact
wrong
that those
with the culture of
rumors
the team.
exist, the fact that those rumors exist is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's I think they're just hitting a rough patch. But the problem is right now is rough patch plus injuries could equal them losing. I don't think you blow up the whole factory just because, one shipment is bad here, but they're going to have to take a deep look in the offseason and say, hey, what did we do wrong? How can we be a better team? Because still on paper, you're still looking at a top 10 offensive line.
Yeah.
On paper, you're looking at a defensive line that at times has been dominant.
Line in the league.
Yeah,
I've looked at 3 different scouting sites, and all 3 have the Eagles as the number 1 offensive line in the league.
Yeah, so I'm still hesitant to straight up take the Bucks. You know what I mean? If this is what's the spread on this? Is it 3.5? Because if it's 3.5, I'd take the Bucks plus 3.5. So where are we at here? Yep. So it's 3. Mm-hmm. So we push at 3 because here's the deal: is I still think Jalen Hurts is gritty enough. I think that line's good enough that they find a way to win because the
Hurts
corner
is also injured too. You got to remember that he has a hurt finger on his throwing hand.
He's hurting right now.
He's hurting.
Yep, he's hurting right now. But like I said, I'm just still. This is a team who made the Super Bowl last year. You in these spots normally, like the Chiefs yesterday, you ratchet your shit up, you can get it done.
Yeah.
Does that happen here? I don't know. I'm still going to pick the Eagles, but it's going to be a close one. And I will not be surprised at all if the Buccaneers win.
Yeah.
Baker to Mike Evans is cooking that day, That's what it's going to be. They're going to have to, the Bucs are going to have to get aggressive, and they are going to have to try to get on top of Philly and take advantage of what's going on right now.
Yeah. I do legitimately think the Buccaneers are going to win this game. And I think it's just the way the two teams are coming into this game. You have a united underdog going up against a defending conference champion team that is falling apart at the seams, and that has inner turmoil. I mean, when you have that kind of stuff going on in your organization, it distracts from on the field, and your players don't play to their standards. And Devonta Smith is a great wide receiver, don't get me wrong. Dallas Goedert's a good tight end. They still have a good offense, but you take away A.J. Brown. I mean, when A.J. Brown got traded, that's when the Eagles went from being a upper mid team to Super Bowl contenders. So I think he is a key piece of that offense, and taking him away along with just the absolute implosion that's been happening in the last 6 weeks, I don't think they're making it out of the wild card.
That's fair enough. Like I said, I won't be shocked at all. There's just still something in me that this is an experienced squad with leaders, and that's where I'm picking the Eagles. Like I said, it's off of experience, but very close game. I don't like the spread.
Yeah.
I don't like those 3 points because I think
Yeah.
it comes down to that. But moving on here, we have our wild card predictions. Let's go ahead and start our mock draft. The
get
first
it done.
big question we have to take care of, I guess, first parts here is: do you think there's any chance Caleb Williams returns to school? He is not declared for the draft yet, and the deadline is tomorrow.
I think that he will declare, and I think that we move forward as if he is declaring because that's kind of the general industry consensus right now.
Okay, second part of this question: are we trading the Bears out of the first pick?
Yes.
Gotcha.
That's something I am pretty confident in, and it's because they chose to retain Matt Eberflus. I mean, you got a coach that has led your team to a losing record 3 years in a row, and you are entering an offseason in which we probably have the greatest head coaching availability that we've had in 20 years, and you're choosing to keep that losing coach. Why would you do that? It's because you're keeping Justin Fields. It's indicative of indicative. I can't say that word.
An enemy.
Because you're not going to keep this coach and then draft a brand new quarterback for him. I agree. That's what Chicago's done. That's been the pattern. They've done that 3 times in a row now.
Was Matt? No, it was fucking
Matt Nagy got given 1 more year, and then they drafted Justin Fields, and then they fired Matt Nagy, brought on Matt Eberflus, and now they're giving him 1 more year. And
just another doormat.
Before that, they had John Fox, and they gave him 1 more year and hired Mitch Trubisky in his final year, and then fired him a year later. So I mean, it's been a reoccurring pattern. So it would not surprise me if they did take Caleb Williams, but I think Justin Fields played well enough at the end of the season, and the players have come out in support of him. I think he's good enough to win, but you just got to continue building around him. I think that's the big
big
if. Yeah. So I don't trust the Bears organization, but I do think with them retaining Eberflus that they are going to keep Justin Fields, and they're going to trade down. If they were smart, they could get a ton of draft capital out of this draft.
Well, and I
trade
think
down twice here.
I think that's why we're hearing rumors. I think that's why we're starting to hear the chirps of the Bears might trade Fields. I think the Bears are leaking that. Yeah. I don't think how often we really, as fans, know that teams are just leaking their own shit. Like, how many times do you, do you think there's actual moles and leaks to the press inside of front offices? 100%. But do you also not think that there is planted leaks and moles? Like, if they want to get something loose to the press, they can't just text a reporter or have somebody in the building that says, hey, we're thinking of moving on from Fields, knowing damn well they're not, knowing damn well the GM's going to start getting those calls. He's going to have the conversations, but all in all, if that happens, well, the demand for the number 1 pick comes up. Now, if they're not just open to trading the number 1 pick, now if you have to earn your way to the number 1 pick, if you have to prove you want Caleb Williams more than the Bears do,
and I think
it would be smart if that's what they were doing. Is all I'm saying.
Ryan Pace, yep.
Ryan Pace, yep. Who I do like as a GM, I will say.
I get Pace and Poles mixed up. If Ryan Pace was smart, I would be on the phone right now, going down the list, starting with Washington, saying, "Hey, we're taking your guy. If you want him, what do you want for him?" If they say no, Patriots, "Hey, we're taking Caleb Williams. If you want him, come get him." I'd be making those phone calls.
So you would pull a Tom on draft day.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting there with your fucking pancakes.
Yep. I mean,
you know what? We're taking Bo Callahan unless you want him more than I do. 3 first-rounders. Like, yeah.
Is Caleb Williams real life Bo Callahan?
Did anybody attend his birthday party?
I don't know.
Real question. We have to find out.
We got to do some.
We might have just cracked the code, Jace.
Caleb Williams goes 8th overall to Seahawks, confirmed.
Yep. Yeah. The Bears are going to trade down from 1 to 7.
We can play this out however you want to. Obviously, you saw my mock draft.
I think they trade out. I
think Washington trades up to secure Caleb Williams. I think that you got new ownership in Washington. They just hired the best GM that vacancy that was available. The 49.
They're making splashes. So here's if I'll backtrack on you a little bit. Here's Washington's GM search broken down. So what the new owners do Josh Harris. Who else has Magic Johnson there? Let's keep Magic Johnson, who also owns part of the LA Dodgers. So if we're going to think of a management style here, let's establish that right now as far as the sex appeal of big names.
Yeah.
So then they go out and they get Bob Myers. Bob Myers, who the fuck is that? Well, if you don't watch basketball, you would be confused because he's the Warriors' old GM who won championships with them. Brought in Kevin Durant, drafted Steph Curry, the whole 9 yards. Well, why was he in the building? He was an advisor to see what, championship mentality the new GM had, and they ended up bringing in Adam Peters, the assistant GM and pretty much the number one guy on the market from the Niners.
Yep.
As they continued to be a compensatory pick factory. Like literally every single year they have like 2 or 3 third-round comps because they keep getting GM hires out of their building because that's what John Lynch is producing is GM hires.
Yep.
Like what was it? Houston's GMs from there. Oh, there's a couple of guys who have come from. They're both as coaches and GMs. So, yeah, I agree with where you're at in Washington. So, like, I want to mock this trade here because I think even though it's just a 1 round up, I do think that you could probably go what. You can't go 3 first on here, but I'd say at least.
I think in real life, Washington trades their next 2 firsts and the 2nd overall to move up.
Yeah,
I think that's what the Bears are going to want. They're going to want 2 firsts and to move up. Or in my mock, just for shits and giggles, I had a 2025 first, a 2024 third, and Terry McLaurin because the Bears still need another wide receiver on that team, and Terry McLaurin's in a contract year.
I agree. Let's keep real players out of this for now. I think. Yeah. Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 2 firsts, and then Washington actually owns Chicago's 2nd. So I think Washington would be apt to give that up for something like a mid 4th. In exchange. So you're going to go essentially 2 firsts, number 2 overall this year, move back 1 spot. You get a first next year, and then you get a 2nd in this year's draft, and then you're going to give them a 4th back year in this year's draft. That way you're only going down 1 spot. You get that first back and a 2-round bump.
Yeah.
So
unless another team gives them more of a haul to move up.
I agree. No, I think that could very well happen.
And I think whatever does happen is going to happen before the draft, just like the Bryce Young, the Carolina Bears trade happened.
I agree. Make sure we're still lined up. But yeah, so let's go and force this trade. Banana.
Here we go.
Boom, boom. And with the first overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, I think we all know this, Caleb Williams is going to the Washington. Name possibly could be changed at a certain point this offseason too.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't know. It's new owners. Do you think they
That's
like
true.
the Commanders?
Yeah, probably not. But.
Yeah. But yeah, Caleb Williams going first. I think that's almost a given. Do you buy into, I guess, any Drake May possibly jumping him ideas? Because Drake May has, I guess, in my opinion, probably if you're from 1995 or 2005, a.k.a. you want a white quarterback over a, mixed quarterback crowd. Drake May's more that guy because he is 6'4", he is 230, probably a bit more like a Josh Allen style build, to where Caleb Williams is more, I guess he's crafty. He's like 6'2", 205 pounds. You know what I mean? He's quicker, but Drake May is going to give you a little bit more of a power running threat in the pros and probably a little less injury problems, maybe.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
By some people's views.
Yeah.
Josh
Allen hasn't been hurt very much.
I view Drake very close to Caleb. I'm not going to say like I'm hedging on 1A, 1B. Like Caleb's better, but not by as much as some people think. Like Drake May is a great prospect. I think they're both going to have struggles their rookie year because of where they're going to go. And I don't think he jumps Caleb, but some teams might like him more.
Well, and this is where it gets difficult too because you got the Bears are staring at Marvin Harrison Jr. here too, and we just talked about how Justin, if we're going with this mock draft in which the Bears keep Justin Fields, they are going to want to surround him with weapons. So now you just got 2 firsts, you got a 2nd, and now you have an opportunity to also get Marvin Harrison Jr. on top of that. Do you think the Bears do that, or do you think they continue accruing draft capital?
Not ruling out the second option, but I agree. I think on what we're probably going to do in this mock is take Marvin Harrison here because I think that's the most likely option. So that's what I'm going to lock in right now. I also, for every mock I do, I like to think of it as a real draft. How's it going to flow and everything? And I think this would actually be a logical flow. If they go back to number 2, it's because they want Marvin Harrison Jr. They're not going to go back to 2 just to keep trading all day. Like
Yeah.
as fun as that sounds, like Madden style, and what would be the best way to accrue it, that's really hard to do in real life, is to keep trading back down. So I think if they do accept Washington's trade, because they'll have better offers than what we had, if they accept Washington's trade like we put it, they're getting Marvin Harrison. I think that's kind of like a contingent thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's like you're taking a little bit of a worse deal for the number 1 overall pick, but you're getting Marvin Harrison. And
exactly, because you don't want to give up that talent. But
Yep.
before we get to the Patriots pick, one last thing I want to say is we're going to kind of come down here. There's teams like the Falcons that could trade up again. Bears still have a pick here at number 9. If they really want to get out of the top 10, like if they're fine maybe looking at some of the depth in this class,
Yep.
right here, 11, 12, 13, all three of these teams could trade up right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
We all know, these 3 teams right here, your team, my team, and the Vikings,
Yep.
could all trade up. So
Now, as far as this pick right here, if Bill Belichick was still in New England, I could see them considering trading down. But now that they got Gerard Mayo, they got a new coach, they're hitting the reset button. I don't think there's any way in hell they pass on Drake May right here. I think their number 1 priority is getting their quarterback of the future with that 3rd overall pick.
I agree.
And it's either going to be Drake May or it's going to be Jaden Daniels. So it's going to be one of those two.
I agree. No problems with that. I think that's a great move. It's a smart move. They have some intriguing pieces at wide receivers. So I've even seen some people try to be like, well, if they retain Mac Jones and get like Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, I'm like, no, like I think they have Demario Douglas. They have some good young pieces, but they have so many holes that if you're not drafting a quarterback, I think you have to trade out of this in this draft.
Yep.
They could. I still don't rule out this is Bill Belichick's successor, so I wouldn't rule out a trade back, but I do think it's most likely Drake May's here. Snag him up. You don't have to trade for him.
Yep.
It's your pick. You don't have to give up any capital like Washington did, You're getting quarterback 1B for just your pick. And that's a win for the Patriots.
Absolutely.
Number 4, what do we like for Arizona? Because obviously wide receiver is a very hot pick.
I mean, obviously I got Marvin Harrison Jr. going to Arizona. And I think that that's been the industry consensus, was 3 quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, and then MHJ going to Arizona. But that's if the Bears go Caleb Williams, then it's going to go Williams, May, Daniels, and then MHJ. That's just the way the draft is going to fall. But if the Bears keep Fields and they trade down like we have predicted, I think the Cardinals, especially with Hollywood Brown being off of his contract now, he's a free agent now. I think they're going to prioritize keeping weapons around Kyler. We got second-year head coach. Malik Neighbors or Rome Odunze have to be the pick here. I know Rome's been rising pretty heavily on a lot of people's big boards, but I think Malik Neighbors is still that number 2 wide receiver consensus here. So I'd have to go. I'm going to go Malik Neighbors for.
I think there's a small gap, and I put it because of where I see their ceilings. I think all these guys come in as wide receiver 1 skill level wise. The big thing is where I see like their ceilings. Marvin Harrison Jr. could possibly be the greatest receiver, like if you're talking what he could be. Malik Neighbors is a consensus All-Pro and a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like we're talking like the gap is this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's very small between the two. I think they come in at relatively similar like starting skill levels. Like we're talking Madden ratings here. Like Marvin Harrison's an 84, Malik's like an 82 or an 83.
LSU,
I mean, we're talking
receivers, don't they? LSU and Ohio.
Wide receiver university.
LSU and Ohio are both just wide receiver university.
Yeah, look at some of the top guys in the league right now: Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, LSU, Garrett Wilson, Ohio State, Chris Olave, Ohio State.
Yeah.
Jackson Smith and Jigba had a great year.
State,
Ohio State. Now we have another, kind of crop coming out.
Yep.
So I would agree with Neighbors if they don't trade down. Obviously, last year it's what they did out of the 3 spot. When they made that trade with the Texans, I think we were all kind of a little shocked that Texans came back up. I know, like we joked about it, but we were like, "There's no one's going to pick 2, 3," and they did.
Yeah.
So. But I do like Malik Neighbors here at 4.
Yep, I think that's the right pick. Yeah, then you got the Chargers. Now this is where it gets interesting. Because I think that most people are just going to jump right on the Brock Bowers or the Rome Odunze trade. But there's some good offensive linemen here in the Chargers, if I recall.
Yeah, there's people talking dark horse because you have Rashawn Slater there. But the big issue is who do you have at right tackle?
Trey Pipkins the third.
Yes. So, well, the name
the legendary Trey
Trey
Pipkins
the third. I just think in this position it's kind of hard because if they need a right tackle, my favorite offensive tackle prospect for right tackle is actually Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State. He's a monster of a man, 6'7", 350 pounds. Dancing bear, like can move phenomenally, but he's a right tackle. I mean, just a big body over there. You want some more athleticism out of your left tackles, which you already have in Rashawn Slater. So that's the hard part. Is
do you want the big body or do you want so is this a potential trade down spot?
That's what I was thinking. Is right here. Hear me out. This is where we have the Vikings trade up for Jaden Daniels because the Raiders and Broncos probably aren't in play for a quarterback trade up here because of division rivalry. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, could happen. Could happen. We've seen it happen more and more nowadays.
Yep.
But still, I think this could be, you heard the Vikings were aggressive last year trying to get Anthony Richardson. Jaden Daniels fits that mold. A little more experience, a little lower ceiling. Yep. I guess is what people are like, oh, my God, Anthony Richardson could be everything. I'm like, Jaden Daniels can be that too. It's just you don't see, like, the natural throwing motion. You don't see the incredible arm strength, but he's still got a pro arm. He showed leaps in ability every single year, and I like Jaden.
So, here's where I will. I'm going to slightly disagree that this is even likely to happen because you look at the board, and you look at the quarterbacks, and you look at the teams. You got the Chargers, the Giants, and the Titans. Neither of them are drafting a quarterback right now. So I think that the Vikings are probably sitting there saying, we can probably let the Chargers make their pick here and give up a little less capital to move up with the Titans because the Giants just signed Daniel Jones to a huge deal. They're not going to draft a quarterback.
Agreed.
I think that the industry is looking at these two teams thinking, okay, this is where a Dunzy and Bowers are going to go. One's going to go to the Chargers. One's going to go to the Giants. Let's wait until the Titans are on the clock, give up a little less capital, and move up with them instead.
Fair. I would rock this in as Brock Bowers. I've firmly been on the train that even though if it's not Marvin Harrison or even Malik Neighbors, which at 5 it's hard to see Harrison lasting there, Malik could. But also at the end of the day, Adunze I love, but also in this situation, why would you go with another first-round wide receiver when you can get a generational weapon at tight end? Like Roman Dunze is a great wide receiver, but as far as prospects you can get in the draft, Brock Bowers is like what if we could have had the foresight of George Kittle, like that's what we're looking at.
And I'm gonna rabbit trail before we pick him because I had if you want to call it a shower thought, it was more of a driving thought on my way here. I started thinking about the top offense in the NFL over the last 10 years and every team and who it was. And I started to notice a pattern. And I think that Dan Campbell noticed this pattern too. That the number one offense every year has had one key difference that most other teams did not have.
A top tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a dominating tight end. You think of just over the last 15 years, okay? Tom Brady had Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, and even back in Tampa Bay, he had Gronk. You had Jimmy Graham with the Saints and Breeze. Okay?
That's fair.
So you had your tight end there. The Broncos, even the 2013 Broncos had
Julius Thomas.
They were the number one offense. The
Lamar's had Mark Andrews.
The Chiefs have had Travis Kelce, and the Niners when they almost went to the Super Bowl they did go to the Super Bowl a few years ago. That was George Kittle's big year.
Last year, George Kittle had a great year.
I mean,
this year.
You look at the pattern. It's like, okay, the top offense every single year has had a impact tight end on their roster that has been making a difference on the field. And so, I think Dan Campbell recognized that. I think now this is me being ignorant, but it's been a while since Dan Campbell played. I can't remember if he was a defensive end or a tight end.
No, he's a tight end.
That's
the best part about it.
I was like, he was a tight end, so I think he recognized. He drafted Sam Laporta, and now their offense went from 0 to 100 after they added Sam Laporta. Because he's the only key difference on that team besides Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, no, 100% is, Laporta came out, Gibbs came out. They nailed their first-round picks, as far as just drafting their first couple of rounds of picks. And I agree. So, I mean, we'll take Brock Bowers here because I think you get that weapon, then if you can get Mike Williams to renegotiate his contract coming off of an ACL, get that cap number lowered, maybe talk to Keenan Allen about lowering his cap number. I think if you can get a new head coach in that building and get the boys to buy in, it's a different story.
Well, and there's also a really big wide receiver free agency happening this year
Yep,
too. So,
agreed.
I think that
T.
the
Higgins is free,
T.
right?
Higgins, Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, and there's one other big name that's going to free agency as well. So, I mean, there's going to be some talent available this offseason that the Chargers could grab to replace Mike Williams with if they retain Keenan Allen.
Fair enough. So
Can
I
you imagine
guess
Keenan Allen and Mike Evans on that team with Brock Bowers and Justin Herbert
that'd
and
be
Jim Harbaugh?
fucking stupid. Don't do this. Shut up.
Zach's
Shut
got an
up.
erection right now.
Yeah,
Just
we're moving on. Fuck you.
All right, the Giants.
Do we just slot in Rome Odunze?
Rome Odunze, that's kind of a no-brainer. The Giants need a wide receiver more than anything now. Here's where it gets interesting, okay? We're faced with a couple...
Now here's a guy.
The Titans are on the clock. Like I said before, this is where the Vikings could make their push because I think the Vikings are looking at this. They're staring at the Falcons, and they're thinking, if we want our guy, we got to get him now. However, before we even explore this trade, let's put ourselves in Tennessee's shoes. You have the 32nd ranked offensive line. You're about to bring in a new coach. You have a rookie that showed promise, but he's going into his second year, and that dude was sacked left and right. So do you trade down and take a different tackle at the 11 spot, or do you take the best tackle available in the draft? And
Depends who you think the best tackle in the draft is. My thing is the Titans, if they had a optimistic view of what was in their building, Mike Vrabel would still be there. Hear me out. And I know you agree with this, but for everybody listening, you don't fire a great head coach who spammed together a 6-win season out of a 2-win talented roster.
Correct.
You don't fire him if you think the fucking light is at the end of the tunnel. If you are seeing anything right now. No, it is pitch black. You have walked in. You can't see the light from either ways. So Ron Carathan is what he's thinking. Their GM now, who wasn't Mike Vrabel's guy anyways, is thinking, you know what? We have a good coach. The problem is like this could possibly wear a team down. Can Mike Vrabel rebuild this roster? Yeah, 100%. I just think he wants his guy. Now, what you're going to attempt to do, and I'm going to note attempt because I still think they were better off with Vrabel, what they're going to attempt to do is just bring it all in from the bottom. Last year was really the start of the rebuild. Now you have Derrick Henry going to free agency. Now you have the ability to get Ryan Tannehill off your cap numbers. Now you really have the ability to scrap it. And you're going to continue drafting off of what you did last year, which is, I think they like Skoronski where they got him. But let's also play where the board is right now. Joe Alt is the obvious first pick on the board that we have. But then you have Olemayiwa Fashanu out of Penn State, who's right there as well. Yep. You also have Talise Fuaga, who could be a staple at right tackle for you. So you have two edge tackles there, left tackle being a little bit more important. And then even then, there's been people talking how J.C. Latham is very highly regarded. He's number 18 on PFF sheet, but he could be higher. So I think where the tackles are and where you have tackle-needy teams really just being, if you trade down to the Vikings.
You got the Bears and the Jets.
You have the Bears and the Jets. Both could, but then you're still left with a good tackle prospect. I would say a trade here.
That's where I was going with it. I just wanted to kind of conceptualize the situation a little bit. So the Vikings are going to have to give up another first, absolutely, to move up here. The Titans are going to take a discount when Jane Daniels is on the board. And I think they'll probably get it, I think a fourth round. So the Vikings trade the 11, their first rounder next year, the fourth rounder this year, and get back a sixth rounder this year out of the Titans. I think that makes sense for them.
Yeah, we'll go with the higher 4, though.
Vikings trade Justin Jefferson to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah. Don't at me.
I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, so 11 and 108 and a first next year for 7 and 184. Interesting fact here, the Titans also, why I think they're a heavy trade back candidate, and we see it on our screen, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 picks only. They have a first, a second, no third, and early fourth here, so you get 106. They already have it, and you get 108 back to pair with it. I think that's a good trade.
The Vikings trade up, and Jaden Daniels is going to Minnesota. Tommy is doing backflips in the Volkswagen showroom.
which hurts me as a Raiders fan because, once again, I think we retain Antonio Pierce, especially with Max Crosby drawing the line in the sand. We'll talk more about my boys when we get down there. But Jaden Daniels, not as pro-ready as Drake May or Caleb Williams, but all the ceiling. I think we're talking literally Cam Newton pre-injury is probably my best comp for him.
Yep.
You need to work the mechanics a little bit, but his game awareness and his ability to move around a pocket, use his big size and athleticism, and actually his surprising deep accuracy too, all things that are, you're going to have to work on the baby things. You're going to have to work on mechanics, short throws, intermediate throws, timing. These are things that could ruin him. He could be a bust. But I'm going to hedge on the side that his big side potential is enough to get him by as a rookie while he gets those things together.
Yeah.
But moving on to the Falcons, do we also have another quarterback pick here? It's the big question.
That is the big question because
you just got cock-blocked if you're Atlanta by what we did.
So does Atlanta stay water or do they tilt? That's the question.
Arthur Smith is gone, so my thing is right now you realized almost that coaching is an issue. I think coaching was the issue.
Let's picture this, and this is kind of what my thought process was going here.
Just can only imagine.
If the Vikings are taking Jaden Daniels, that confirms one thing. Kirk Cousins is about to hit the market. The Falcons have cap. Bill Belichick is heavily rumored to be going there as their next head coach right now.
And Bill hates rookies.
Kirk Cousins seems like the perfect quarterback for Bill Belichick.
I can't quite get what you're saying there.
No, I mean,
white.
Think about that for a minute. You got Bill Belichick as the coach. You got Kirk Cousins. You have Drake London. You have Kyle Pitts. You got Bijan Robinson. I mean, if the Falcons could sign Cousins off free agency, Bill Belichick would have a NFC Championship contending team roster. On paper.
You have to tweak the defense, but also how often have we seen Bill take – they have a young, talented defense, and how often have we seen Bill Belichick take young, talented players who maybe didn't seem to fit elsewhere, and all of a sudden, it's a top 5 defense.
Yep. So
like, what is it? I actually talked about Troy Anderson, one of their linebackers. I was a big fan of coming out of Montana State, and I thought he would go to the Patriots. He just seemed like a Bill Belichick guy. Played running back and linebacker in college. Was an injury problem this year, but I still think he's a guy that they have a lot of confidence in going forward at middle linebacker.
Yep.
Him, Caden Ellis. You have solid depth on that defense. I think the team outplayed their coach once again. I think Arthur Smith was a big issue. Arthur Smith would have probably been a better coach if he didn't have as many great playmakers around him, and he was just asked to be 8-9 with a roster that was that way. But you get a guy who can actually come in and utilize. That'll be great for the Falcons. The big issue, though, is Bill Belichick. Does he come with Josh McDaniels to Atlanta?
No, he won't. So I'm going to throw my dark horse pick here because, I mean, you look at the draft board and everybody has like what seems like the obvious pick, but there's always that one pick where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, but it kind of makes sense, right? I think Kool-Aid McKinstry can make sense here for the Falcons because they need help in the secondary. And you look at just consensus.
Jace. Really? If Bill Belichick, we're saying Bill Belichick's here?
Shut up.
You have a chance to draft the first white cornerback.
No, we have one.
The first round white cornerback since Jason Sehorn? Since Bill started in the league, coaching later in New England. You have a chance to do the funniest thing alive.
Yeah, we have Riley Moss.
Yeah, but he was Cooper DeJean's teammate.
Yep.
But you think Kool-Aid McKinstry goes here?
That's my dark horse pick.
I like Cooper better, even though his injury history, he was just a better corner. I think he was mocked higher early because Cooper got hurt at the end of the year, but I think Cooper DeJean's going to be healthy for the time training camp comes around, and I think he goes higher. That's my thing.
I think they're either going to go corner or tackle here.
Why? They have the best offensive line one of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
That's true. Never mind. Disregard. I was reading my rankings wrong.
I was going to say, I would vote Cooper DeJean here just because Kool-Aid.
Okay.
Someone have a coin?
No, I'm all right with Cooper DeJean. That's fine.
Just think it fits with the Bill Belichick, too.
Because I do think that if the Vikings if the Falcons don't get one of the top 3 quarterbacks and the Vikings do trade up and let Kirk Cousins hit the market, Cousins is going to be their number 1 target. And I think that they're going to hire Belichick before they go after a free agent quarterback because I think that's going to help lure a quarterback there.
Oh yeah, you have to hire a coach before you sign
Yep.
free agents.
Yep.
That's how it works, Jace.
I know.
Next one. Do you like? Are you? I guess in what you've dipped into, I like the consistency of Joe Alt a little bit better than probably the upside of Fashanu. Fashanu could be a top offensive tackle, but I think Joe Alt comes in like Joe Thomas. Like he's a day one starter and he's just consistent. He's good. Like you don't really find a lot to dislike. I mean, he's not sexy on tape, but what tackle is?
Well, I guess with this pick, you got your Eberflus, and this is your one final shot. You're keeping Justin Fields. I think offensive line would be the top priority, but he's also a defensive-minded coach, so I would not put it past him.
And you just drafted a wide receiver too, so
I would not put it past him to go defense here. But we're drafting as if we're the GM, so let's be the smart ones here. And I think that I'll let you pick the tackle, but I think offensive line is the right pick here.
You think O-line's the right pick?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to give Justin Fields another year and you're going to give him weapons, you got to protect the kid.
that's fair. So I like Fashanu for the Bears better. I think just for the type of offense, if you're looking to run a more athletic offense.
Yeah, you know the players on an individual level better than I do, so.
Yep, I like Fashanu. So, and that would mean I think we're just going to back-to-back this year. You have to fucking protect Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
There is no other pick
Yep,
here, in my
Joe
opinion.
Alt,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Joe Alt. Yeah, it makes sense. It's the right pick, and if they're bringing everybody back and trying to run this one back with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, fucking highlight, underline, italics,
Are we gonna have
bold
a
that
triple T
that
happening
healthy.
right
Yeah,
Are we going to have a triple T happening right here?
I think so.
Going Titans?
yeah. I think left tackle's hard. But, is what you want to find here. Fuaga very well could be that man. He played right tackle, though, all the time at Oregon State. But if you are going to take a right tackle, top 10, top 15.
And the Titans need offensive linemen more than any other team in the league right now. So,
Yep. Your turn.
Denver, I've seen it too many times. I've watched Denver continuously over and over and over and over and over and over and over again pass on quarterbacks when we need a quarterback. So I am confidently taking Dallas Turner here. I do not think they take a quarterback with the 12th pick. I think they're going to let it ride and try to hope Bo Nix falls to the second.
That's fair. Ooh, the quarterback board is so weird on this year because they have, like, Quinn Ewers is coming back to school.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and people can't see it on their end. But
Quinn Ewers is
Texas.
I know he's from Texas, but with him returning, do you think that Manning enters the transfer portal?
No. I asked this question too, and I think Siglin was actually the one who reminded me that Malik Murphy, Texas's backup, transferred. Arch was able to redshirt because of lack of playing. If you play in 4 games or less, you can redshirt or gray shirt, I think is what they call it. So he still has his 4 years of eligibility. So even with Quinn coming back, I think Arch still sits another year, and then as a redshirt sophomore, he'll play, and if he's pro ready, he'll go.
Yeah.
If not, he still has more time. You know what I mean? He has, but
Okay.
he'll be a starter with 3 full years of chances to play, and I think he stays at Texas, especially with what Sark's doing there. They just made the college football playoff. They barely lost to Washington. Like, if you're a Texas fan, you love it, and you love Quinn Ewers coming back. Now for the Raiders here, this is interesting because I think
It's going to depend on who you hire as your coach.
exactly.
That's
Right now, as of today, it's Antonio Pierce because apparently with what I've been hearing, the line has been drawn in the sand by the players. Max is the one who kind of started it, going to social media saying hashtag hire AP. I think he's starting to get some pushback from, I think, Mark. First of all, I've been wanting to say this. You can't just outright hire AP like the Patriots did. I think it's noted that, they had a plan of succession in the contracts that's been talked about that wasn't there with Antonio Pierce. So we can't outright hire him without breaking the Rooney Rule. And that would cost our team.
Yep.
Like fines, possibly draft picks. Like if we don't uphold the Rooney Rule, I mean, you remember what happened. Brian Flores sued you guys because he thought he was a token interview.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that's the hard part is we have to bring in a minority candidate for each position to interview for each position that we have open, GM and head coach. And then from there, we have to build our staff. Now, I think Mark is going fast about this, as fast as he can. There's only one team who actually started in our position that didn't already have a plan of succession. That seems to be farther ahead, and that's the Commanders.
okay.
But we've wrapped up our GM search, and I think it's going to be either announced today or tomorrow who the GM for the Raiders is.
Okay.
From there, you'll find out. If it's Ed Dobbs from Indianapolis, I think I give it a 50-50 shot between Harbaugh and Pierce. If it is anybody else, I heavily favor Pierce, and if it's Champ Kelly, you already know Pierce is coming back.
Yeah.
If it's Champ Kelly. Now, Champ is highly regarded by other teams, our interim GM. He could go GM elsewhere, giving us some comp picks. But I do think Champ Kelly comes back. I think Antonio Pierce comes back. I think the players have kind of staked their reputation on it. Now, the hard part is if you're Mark Davis and Champ Kelly, how do you go all in that 1 year? Do you think that there's a quarterback here that you can draft, or do you go to the free agency?
Yeah.
He's the big question. Or the third option I don't like is, do you ride with Aiden O'Connell?
Well, yeah, that's not a fun option either.
don't
Now
like it.
let's explore the quarterback market, because in our draft we have Kirk Cousins going to the Falcons, so he's off the market now. So that leaves Ryan Tannehill.
No. I don't think they do another
that-
Jimmy pick. You know what I
might
mean?
Be it. Are there any other quarterbacks besides Ryan Tannehill?
Possibly
on the market?
Russ is what
Russell Wilson,
people have
yep.
talked about that. Like, if you guys are going edge here, I don't know. Is there a crazy world where Russ comes back?
Or there is.
Yeah,
You
like
know
where
what?
he renegotiates.
Let's
Like,
flip the script here. Does Russ go to Atlanta, and does Kirk Cousins go to?
oh god, that would just be so hard on a coaching aspect though, because I think if Pierce comes back, like we're predicting, we draft a quarterback.
You think
Like
so?
I think Pierce is about building a culture, and I don't think he cares. Like
What-
his first move was to go to a rookie quarterback from the 4th round.
Well, look at your team this year, and what the minute he took over, what was the key thing about your team that was making a difference in winning you guys games? Every year?
Defense.
So you don't think there's any chance he just keeps building on that defense and then
Oh yeah, that's
throws a dart at quarterback later?
I agree. So you want to know who I go with easily here, who we need, and who I love? Jason Newton.
Okay.
Great pick.
Yep.
I would be
That's-
very
that was What I was
happy.
thinking
Yep.
the whole time was the Raiders are going defense here.
Yeah, I just kind of
If
want to.
Antonio Pierce is the head coach.
Yeah, I wanted to just address the monkey in the room of or elephant in the room of what do the Raiders do? You know what I mean? Like do we go veteran? Do we stick with Aiden O'Connell? Do we? I can also see a world where we pick a 2nd-round rookie. Like if quarterbacks start falling, we get our guy and then he sits behind AOC for a while.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
quarterback AOC,
I-
not Senator.
I think
AOC.
I think JJ Nix and
Penix.
Penix could all fall to the 2nd round.
Injury history and national championship performance, I think, could put Penix in the late 1st, early 2nd.
Yep. Yeah, he did not look good. He did get injured at halftime. Like, he's just made of glass. He's a talented kid. Like, he has that Mahomes little wrist flick.
Yep.
Like, he
Well,
has the X factor, but he just can't stay healthy.
Someone put it out there. They took the video and they flipped it, so he appears as a right-handed quarterback. And I think if you're going to evaluate Michael Penix, that's the best thing you could do is watch that video. Go watch Michael Penix as a righty throw the football. It'll completely change of how talented he really is.
Yeah.
Like I think people just kind of brush it off because he's a lefty and it looks a little weird. Because we have that. That's the camera angle. It's always
Yep.
at the quarterback's back. You know what I mean? So, for the most part, you kind of lefties just look different. But if you see him from a righty, he looks like he has a quick trigger. He can release it fast. I still like him in the first, but later because of the injury
Yep,
history.
absolutely.
What do we do with the Saints here? Because they're going to be in salary cap hell.
Yep.
For some reason, they committed a lot to Derek Carr, so they're not moving on from him.
Nope.
You see quarterback here. That's
yeah,
not.
I don't know why PFF put that there, but I mean, maybe if they personally feel they need a better quarterback, which I mean, Derek Carr's a mid. He's Jimmy Garoppolo light. They're the same.
Jimmy
quarterback.
with a better injury history, apparently. So yeah, he stays healthy
They're
longer.
the same quarterback. This is a tough one.
I think you got to build the line. Cam Jordan's about the only edge I
Yeah.
think they have anymore. They've been
So
great
Jared
at drafting edges, but like Trey Hendrickson left. Like they've had guys who have just gone elsewhere.
So do they go Jared Verse or Leatu Latu?
I like Leatu Latu better. The only thing is Latu's history. He's like Jalen Phillips. He had to medically retire for a year because of a neck injury and then moved from Washington to UCLA. Is an elite prospect. I think he's played better on every level than Jared Verse by a little margin. But Jared's just healthier.
Okay.
So I guess that really comes down to do you trust the health
Okay.
of Latu versus Verse?
Fair enough.
But
Fair enough.
coin flip here. Let's go with the healthy pick. I'm gonna go Jared Verse. Even though, I
Yeah.
said, I like Latu. He's higher on my personal board. Yeah.
Colts, they're losing Michael Pittman. They need a wide receiver. They need to replace him.
Troy Franklin or Brian Thomas Jr. I think they both could rise in draft. Like the combine's going to be nice to both these guys. That's what I'm saying.
Keon Coleman?
Keon Coleman's good. I think he's kind of taken a bit of a digger as far as his draft stock goes towards the end of the year because of Jordan Travis. And the problem is he's a tape guy. He's going to be like a 4.5 40 runner, and I think actually his draft stock will be early second, late first.
Okay. The industry has Kool-Aid McKinstry going here too. So
They need a cornerback, I guess. Kool-Aid, Nate Wiggins is there. Terry and Arnold's a good one too. But yeah, you know what? Fuck it, let's go Kool-Aid. You like that? We'll mock it for Sig. I think he'd like Kool-Aid there.
Yep.
See the new Seattle Seahawks
With Dan Quinn as head coach, calling that right now.
Oh yeah, I wanted to say something, but I kind of let you get on your rabbit trail and then I forgot. But yeah, Dan Quinn, head coach there. I think stamp it after the Cowboys losing the NFC Championship game. But I think a lot too here. You're talking about a guy who started in Washington. He's from the West Coast. Went down to UCLA to play, but I think he goes back home in Seattle.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that.
Starting to fly through this here. Do you think they go edge again? Because I know like the Jaguars need more edge presence because Trayvon Walker hasn't been it. They only have Josh Allen pretty much down there.
Oh man!
But I know they
Shad
need.
Khan's a wild card in the draft. You never know what he's going to do. Man, that's a tough one.
I think it's defense is their pick here. They're set at linebacker, but Nate Wiggins at corner could be a guy from Clemson. He's arguably CB1 in this class. So
I like that pick. They need help. They just get shredded in the secondary. So yeah, no, I can definitely see Nate Wiggins going there.
What's the Bengals line situation?
Let's see.
Are they still shitty this year? I feel like death taxes and
I think
Bengals
with,
allowing sacks to Joe Burrow.
I think with Joe Burrow getting hurt again, I think that tackle is going to be the overwhelming.
I think right tackle because you have Jonah Williams on the left who's done all right, but right tackle seems to be because
21st they got Orlando Brown.
Oh yeah, so they're not going left tackle.
Yep. So if anything, they're going to take a guard.
Yeah, probably not first round. So other need they have is defensive interior where there's not really a
standout
D
tackle. Is this a trade down?
This could be. Who are some sexy prospects? Michael Penix. Who trades out for Penix?
Let's look at the teams available here still. So let's hear. Doesn't need. The Steelers are at 23.
You think they make a move for a quarterback again in the first round?
I don't know.
Like I'm
just saying they're there. Actually, that's where I got Russell Wilson going, was the Steelers.
Yeah, I think they could go vet. I don't think they want to restart.
I mean, a team could trade up from the second. And this could be a...
So, do you guys not have your second?
Nope, we don't have a second this year.
I mean, not to be a homer, but...
I could see the Raiders doing it.
So what does that look like? That looks like a second, maybe a first next year?
Mm-hmm.
Or a first next year.
Probably I would be happy about it.
A swap back. And then a fourth. So if you're getting a first next year to kind of compensate that little 5-pick swap back there, and then a fourth for their troubles. Because I think we'll get comp picks this year, most likely from something or another. So
I know we don't want to do players, but I don't think this trade happens without the Raiders sending somebody significant over there too. No, Hunter Renfrow, get the fuck out of here. Josh Jacobs on a contract here?
No, he's a free agent. We can't trade him. We can't trade him. So Marcus Peters isn't even on our roster. Oh,
yeah.
I don't know if there's a player involved here. Like I said, I think going back 5 spots in the second.
Well, maybe you guys end up trading 2 first. Who knows? Like a team trading out of the middle of the first, that you usually got to get a fucking haul to give up a first-round pick.
Second, if we go down to 44, then they have 44, 49. They're still in the earlier second, and then a first next year.
Yeah. Yeah, we can mock that. I think that's realistic. I think it can happen. So
don't want to spend too much time on trade.
Yep.
Because we've seen some stupid ass trades.
Yep.
So I guess my question is Penix or Nix for the Raiders here.
I think they're going to go with the sexier prospect and take Penix. He's younger. He's got more upside. he's got that X factor that Nix doesn't have. He's not the traditional pocket passer.
That's fair. That's fair. Moving on to the Green Bay Packers.
I think you go. Oh man, this is a tough one.
I like Cam Kinchins from Miami. That's been one for me. I don't know if he goes this high, but he was a baller at Miami, and they need some secondary help.
Yeah, they're definitely going defense. They have a top 10 offensive line, so they're not going offense. O-line. Yeah, they got the 8th ranked offensive line. Oh, come on.
Corner seems to be a popular one. So I think the top one right now would be Terry Arnold.
Yep.
Especially if you have Cooper gone, you have Nate Wiggins gone, Kool-Aid's gone. Terry Arnold, who could be, just as good as Kool-Aid is.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to the Buccaneers. After they retain Baker, assumedly. I think they need to work on their defense. They pretty much need everything but safety.
Well,
like Devin White's taking a spot back.
But if Mike Evans walks, they're going to need a wide receiver too.
Do you think they spend it if they still got Chris Godwin in the building?
I mean, you're left with Kate Otten and Chris Godwin for Baker. Maybe you're taking a step back.
That's
on
fair.
The offense.
That's fair. Yeah, and Baker needs his weapons.
Um,
I would like Brian Thomas or Troy Franklin. I think Troy Franklin. Both guys take the top off the
both those.
defense.
I think. Let's mock this as if Mike Evans goes to free agency and they take Brian Thomas.
Do it.
If they retain Mike Evans, then I think they go Balin Trice.
Braylon Trice, gotcha. So we're up to the Cardinals at 21 now with Houston's pick.
So Cardinals, they got Neighbors.
Yeah.
They need to protect Kyler. I think they're going to go offensive line here. So J.C. Latham.
Yep. Ooh, on to the Rams.
Damn, this is a tough one. Aaron Donald's retiring this year. Are there any game-changing interior defensive linemen on?
Not this late, no. Leonard Taylor I like in the first round, actually.
Yeah.
I think actually that would be a smart move because they have some promising edge rushers. Like they got Byron Young last year, who was the Byron Young I wanted the Raiders to draft, not the one we did draft. Two different Byron Youngs, two different players, clearly. But I like Leonard Taylor. I think he played great for Miami. Kind of suffered a little bit from like double team itis. Like was a mid first round prospect last year and then came back and just got the shit eaten out of him on double teams on the inside. But he's powerful. He's explosive. Like he has the plays on tape where you're like, if you can rein it in, he's going to be a dog.
Yep.
So, wide receiver, you're more than solid on.
Teams always we have yet to draft any like second round talents in the first, and that always happens 2 or 3 times. Not trying to get cute with it, but like I could see Leonard Taylor going here, but I could also honestly I could see them getting Graham Barton too, fix up that interior on their offensive line, keep Matt Stafford healthy.
If they did, I'd say Amarius Mims because he's someone who, if you look at his profile here, 6'7", 340, big guy, but actually also spent some time at guard too.
I like that. I think they address the offensive line. I think
Keeps
a lot of teams
well,
address their offensive line.
you're paying a lot for Stafford. If he's going to stick around, you got to protect him. The Steelers.
They're going to, let's see here. No.
Jason's like, I'm saving him.
Well, I just don't think
know.
they will. I think Russell Wilson's going to be a Steeler next year. Like you just said, they're not going to try to reset with a rookie again 2 years later.
No, I agree, especially after you just kind of squeaked into the playoffs. Like, this is a move I think you need to address the depth at a position of need. And you go to wide receiver, and that's the hard part is right now we're seeing on our board a lot of edges and wide receivers, and they're solid there.
Yep.
What about a corner with Kamari Lassiter? Actually, as I'm scrolling down, you guys can't see it on your end here, but there's one guy I think that will be a first-round pick after how he played in the college football playoff, and that's Chris Jenkins. He will. His dad used to play in the league and was a dominant defensive tackle.
I like Kamari Lassiter here. And actually, that's where the industry has them going to, is the Steelers at 23.
Yep, let's do it. Kamari.
Yeah, they have strange rankings.
Right now they do. It'll get more leveled out before the draft. The Dolphins.
Oh, you tackle that offensive line, absolutely. Tua has not had much time to throw, and when you have two explosive, fast running backs, you need to make sure you're giving them all the opportunity to.
Guy we're going to give up here. Jordan Morgan, 6'6", 320, very athletic as an offensive tackle. So put him on the other side of Teron. They have Teron Armstead, right? Yep. The Eagles. Kaka. Do they need a third wide receiver?
No. What about Cameron Kinchins out of
I like
Miami?
Cam Kinchins.
Yep. Address that secondary a little bit and get some safety help there.
This one I think is too obvious wide receiver.
I don't know. Like I said, okay, let's pump the brakes here. You got Mike Evans, Michael Pittman, Hollywood Brown, maybe Keenan Allen, and God, who's the other big name that's going to free agency? You got 5 big name free agent wide receivers. So there is a real possibility. Like, yeah, Kansas City's been addressing wide receiver in free agency, but they've been signing mid guys. There hasn't been any big names on the market, and now they're getting big name proven commodities. So, but can they afford to pay those big names? That's the salary cap.
Last first round picks, 23, Felix Naduke Uzamoa at 31. Year before, George Karlaftis at 30, Trent McDuffie. Year before, no pick. Year before, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Year before, no pick, or 2 years before, no picks, but that's because of Patrick Mahomes. But then you go back to 2015, you got defense, offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, defense. Yeah, you see what I'm saying here is like the Chiefs all time actually go more defense in this draft.
They do.
I don't see edge because I think their D-line is phenomenal. I think Chris Jones will be back because they signed like a longer-term extension with him, didn't they? Yeah. So Chris Jones is back. They have Karlaftis. They've spent a lot of money on the edge, but they also have like good corners and stuff. Like they've kind of brought together. I almost think offense kind of has to be because that's really your one hole.
Yep. Let's throw Troy Franklin out there. I think that makes sense.
As I hate that because Troy's going to be like a 4'3" guy at 6'3". Yeah. Like he's MVS with hands.
Okay. Gotcha.
He's MVS with hands. If I could put a name to it, that's who he is. He's MVS, but he can catch a fucking football. All right, Houston getting a first rounder from Cleveland. Actually, they should be picking earlier. I think they're PFF's assuming this isn't updated yet. Because realistically, if they have Cleveland's pick, they'll actually pick ahead of where Arizona has their pick. Because Cleveland's already gone, you know what I'm saying? Like where this is right here.
This is where Houston would normally be.
Yeah, so we'll fuck with it for now, but this will definitely change.
Yep.
One thing I would say is if I'm D'Amico, I keep building that defense. You have Jonathan Grenard, Will Anderson on the edges. Yep. I don't know if there's an interior defensive guy that you kind of want here. Linebacker or secondary, though, I would say. Because they got Petrie, but who else do they have back there? It's like a kind of mid-level safety, but I think he's on a 1-year deal. So they're going to be looking for someone.
You think they go edge, corner, or safety then?
I think safety, and I like Tyler Newman. He's kind of like Jalen Petrie to the point where if you have two guys who are multi-versatile like that, it works.
I like it.
All right, who's biting kneecaps up in Detroit? Number 28 here.
I think that Detroit here takes, who was I just talking about a few minutes ago, Graham Barton. They need somebody on the interior of that offensive line, and I think that they bolster it right there.
I'm going to take you through a little bit of a loop here. I like Troy Fatanu a little bit better. He's actually a left tackle for Washington. Size, though, is probably going to put him inside. Okay. He's about 6'4", kind of 315, 320. So in a faster offense, he's a left tackle, but this offense, not so much. What did the Bills do?
They're going to need a wide receiver because I think that but I don't know, the Bills could trade out of the first here.
Let's do it, Jace. Let's fucking do it. Let's do it. Where's the Broncos at?
Oh, my God.
First round pick next year.
Yeah, send Jerry Jeudy over to Buffalo.
A first rounder in Jerry Jeudy?
Yeah.
For 29?
We'd give up our third rounder, too.
And Jerry Judy, a first, a third, and Jerry Judy for 29.
We'd trade Jerry Judy just for a third or fourth at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like that's a first rounder next year for a late first this year.
Oh, okay, fair.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I think Jerry
Okay.
Judy and a first would be
Maybe a second next year. A second next year.
then your third,
Third this year.
and a trade back.
Yep.
Then
Jerry
maybe
Judy.
throw in like a late fourth
Yeah.
or fifth. There we go. Okay, forced trade. Jesus.
And Bo Nix.
Bo Nix, who feels like he should be playing in the South. I'm sorry, I feel like he should be Atlanta's quarterback.
Yeah.
He was in the right college at Auburn for name, you know, correlation
Bo
there.
Nix.
Yep.
Bo Callahan.
Yeah, it's cousin Bo Nix there.
Oh.
All right, final three. Where do the Cowgirls go?
Well, Jerry Jones.
I think they will take a running back in this draft, but there's no first
There's-
round
yeah,
running backs.
This
So
this draft's kind of devoid of running backs.
they have it's nothing sexy, but it's got good meat and potatoes. Is what I
Yeah.
like to call it. Like you'll have your HNs who
Mm-hmm.
like come out as guys who are starters, but they were kind of viewed as projects a little bit.
Yep.
You'll see that this draft, I think. So there will be a lot of guys though who can make an impact right away. Just knowing who's going to get in the first round. Let's see here.
What about Damian Robinson, edge from Penn State? The industry consensus has him going 16th, and we're already at the back of the first. I feel like we've overlooked him a little bit.
Oh, Chop.
Chop Robinson.
Why is Chop so far down on PFF?
I don't know.
Chop's a first rounder. We should put Chop in there. Sorry.
Yeah.
If we're going
Yeah,
off
he should've
PFF,
went a while ago.
yeah, we
Yeah.
should have put him a while ago. They have him. What's his real name? Demion.
Damien? I'm going to go Damien.
Damien. Yeah, they call him Chap. All right, the
49er.
Nieners,
The Nieners?
cornerback. I think.
Yeah.
I think they have too many like older vets there. Guy who I would love there is Quinion Mitchell, but he's actually returning to college. Another guy who's a victim of the draft time blues.
What do you think of Kalen King?
I think he'll make it back into the first round. If he would have went out last year, like he was actually regarded as better than Joey Porty Jr.
Okay.
But he just kind of had a rough year against like Marvin Harrison and those guys. Like if you look at, we're gonna bring up on here, like looking at 89 last year, 60.3 this year. Like heavy fall off, got roasted at Ohio State. Rebounded well, but you know what I mean. Like last year was definitely a lot better of a year. Didn't allow any touchdowns.
All that one
but-
game, that in Michigan kind of brought his average down a little bit.
Yeah, like overall, like not a bad. Like you're seeing like in the greens here, but
He
last
finished
year.
strong. Yeah.
So yeah, we can do Kalen King here.
Okay.
And the last one, this is one I just like. Xavier Leggett from South Carolina, like Debo. He reminds me of bigger Debo
Okay.
Samuel. So we'll finish it off there. We'll save the mock draft. Boom. I can put it in the group. There we go.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts before we get to watching the games here?
No. Well, if the trend continues, the opposite of who I'm picking in every game is going to end up winning. So
Here we go. 0-2 so far, huh?
0-2 so
I did
far,
pick
yep.
the Chiefs, but I did pick the Browns, so I'm
Yep.
1-1. But as we sign off every single time, to you.
to you.